To be honest, I used to be a bit of a skeptical guy when it comes to AI and design, especially with Figma. I did use AI though in my workflows, like manually uploading a screenshot of an app and asking an LLM to give me some ideas on how to approach a certain user flow or UX pattern. But now the Figma MCP has the ability to actually write vectors using LLMs and nodes. So in this video, I will show you my exact workflow that enables me to work so much faster and quickly generate custom design systems, generate user flows, screens, and so on. As a quick breakdown and of the chapters, we are going to start by enabling Figma MCP, installing the new Claude plugin, and trying out a live application. I will get some inspiration for a new design system, and then we will have Claude recreate those into Figma Make that we can then export into Figma Design. So I've been shipping products for the last decade, and I own a design and development agency that does upwards to 6 figures in revenue. I think this workflow is going to help immensely with our agency workflow because I can now explore so many ideas incredibly fast, things that used to feel a bit too clunky and manual to do it myself. The most important part of providing a good user experience as a designer is that the best UX is the most familiar one. It's the one that doesn't make the user think about their next move. To be honest, AI excels at exactly that because it's trained on the most common patterns, which is exactly what we need in UX. While there are certainly unique interactions that need to be tailor-made for each application, let's be honest, 80% or more of an app is built on standard UX patterns. A quick note, if you are in need of a design system or you don't have a solid one yet, I do provide a free audit where I analyze your current Figma files and approach. So if you're having issues with things like developer handoff, we can help with that. Just reach out on my website and send over your current setup and let's see how we can help. I intend to make these videos completely beginner friendly, whether you're a designer who just wants to go ahead and keep up with the industry or just vibe coding and need an established design system to work with, this video is definitely for you. As a requirement, you must have Claude installed, but this workflow can also work with other AI tools as well, like Codex and so on. But in this video, I will be using Claude, so you'll need to have that installed on your machine. Because the Claude client here I have opened cannot make changes through the local server, we're gonna need to work with the Claude CLI. The first step is obviously to install the MCP server from Figma, and you can grab it from this website. I will be linking this below. You basically copy the command and paste it in your terminal, and this will add the Figma MCP server to Claude. Alternatively, you can use the Claude client for this. You can go to the customize panel, connectors, which are basically MCPs, and browse Figma from there. Now, if you already have it installed, I would strongly suggest uninstalling and installing it again, because if you're running on an older version of that, it can cause some problems. After that, it will ask for authentication. I'm not exactly sure the precise steps because it's been a while since I've been authorizing it, but it's pretty straightforward. The next step is making sure the server is enabled inside Figma as well. To verify that MCP is enabled, open the command panel with Command P and type MCP, and you should see that it's enabled and checked. So we're going to create a design system from scratch, but not from just a prompt. We're going to start from some inspiration screens. And I want to be super transparent here because let's be honest, nobody starts with an empty canvas anymore. So we are going to use Dribble to find some inspiration, or alternatively, you can also use something like Mobbin. Both are great sources of inspiration, but because I want to move a bit faster, I'm going to use parts of a design system I found on Dribble by this nice guy called Mateus. Thank you, Mateus. I swear I'm not gonna use this design system for production applications. I'm only using it for demonstration purposes. But we can see it has quite a few components showcased here, and I think it's a great starting point for our design system. Normally, I would just copy some images and paste them into Figma Make, because that's what we're going to use to translate those images into Figma nodes. So let's open a new file in Figma Make. and add some images to the context window from that dribble shot. And for the prompt, I would say something like, based on the screens, create a design system including colors, typography, spacing, and border radius. Obviously, you can go so much deeper than that, but I would recommend starting small and building on gradually. That way, you don't burn through the context window in Figma Make because it is limited to a certain degree. Now, this has created exactly what I asked for. I have to say, it's kind of amazing how good this is for the first try, and it understood the design system surprisingly well. We have typography laid out nicely, spacing values, border radiuses, and even shadows. As a first pass, this is honestly pretty awesome. I would already be pretty satisfied with this output, but I want to extend the design system a bit because what we have right now is still a little too simplified. So let's make some changes. I'll be using a longer prompt, which I'll include somewhere in the description below. Essentially, the prompt tells Figma Make to expand the current setup by adding more spacing values, more border radiuses, filling in color gaps, and generally creating something closer to a minimum viable design system. So let's run that and see what we get. Okay, now that it's done, I have to say I'm genuinely impressed, even the first time I did this. It is exactly what I expected. All the color shades are there. There's a complete spacing scale with variables, border radiuses, shadows, buttons, inputs. Everything looks really solid. And honestly, it followed my specifications extremely closely. So for the next test, I want to provide an example page and see if it can use the existing design system we created it. So let's jump back into Figma Make. And I'll use a prompt like this. Based on the current design system, generate this account settings page I'm providing in the context. Try to follow our specifications as closely as possible and create a new page for this screen example. Okay, obviously it didn't follow the screenshot exactly, but honestly it's really good. For a first pass, I'm generally impressed, and for the record, it absolutely followed the design specifications we mentioned, especially when it comes to colors and typography. The thing with Figma Make is that it's primarily a prototyping tool. If you're serious about maintaining a design system and having a proper source of truth, you'll eventually want to move everything to Figma Design. I actually made a small mistake here. Instead of creating a separate page for the account settings page, it overwrote my first root page. That was completely my fault. You need to explicitly tell it to create a separate pages. Being a prototyping tool, it tends to work with the current page by default. So keep that in mind. Now that we have both pages, the design system and the screen example, let's move everything into Figma Design because that's where the real work begins. So there's a button at the top that allows you to copy the design from Make and paste it into Figma Design. I've already created a page called Design System, so let's paste it here. Let's also copy over the account settings page and place it inside a new screens page. And honestly, it's already looking pretty good. We can see that it used auto layout and followed the design system colors. The next step is creating the actual variables inside Figma and applying those variables to both screens and the design system, basically binding the variables it created to the component. As I mentioned earlier, the goal is to have a maintainable design system with proper design tokens and variables that serve as a source of truth for your application. To do that, we're going to use Claude through the Figma MCP we set up earlier. You don't need a super complicated prompt like mine. I just tend to be more explicit. In most cases, you could simply ask Claude to create the variable collections for you based on the current screen, and it should probably work fine. First, let's grab the link to the design system artboard. Then launch Claude from any directory on your machine. We don't need a dedicated workspace because we're not writing any code here. We're simply interacting with the Figma file. Let's make sure Claude can see that page. So it looks like it can, which is perfect. Now let's paste our prompt and hit enter. After a while and a few thousand tokens later, we can see the results are already here. If we open the variables tab, we can see the collections for border radiuses, colors, spacing, and typography. Everything looks really good. One thing that I would still improve is having color references automatically instead of having hard-coded hex values in some places. But that's something we can fix later. Overall, this is incredibly powerful. You can build a fully custom design system in a matter of hours, maybe even minutes, depending on the complexity. And for most teams, this is a massive improvement in workflow. The next logical step would be binding all those variables to the actual Figma components and screens. Instead of hard-coded values, we'd have proper tokens throughout the entire design system. And honestly, that's pretty simple task for Claude. At that point, you would have a fully functional design system in place. Yeah, so that's it, guys. I think this is a very, very solid workflow for creating a custom design system from scratch. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.